The arena was louder than a thunderstorm. More than 41,000 people filled the massive stadium, their voices echoing through the steel walls as bright lights scanned across the crowd. Flags from different countries waved in the air, cameras flashed nonstop, and the tension was so thick that even the fighters waiting backstage could feel it. Tonight was not just another martial arts event. It was something bigger, something legendary. In the center of the arena stood a giant golden platform, surrounded by security and officials. The announcer's deep voice echoed through the speakers as he introduced fighter after fighter, each one stepping forward with confidence, each one hoping to prove their strength. But suddenly, the lights dimmed. The crowd slowly went quiet. A heavy drumbeat started playing. Boom, boom, boom. From the far end of the arena, a tall, muscular fighter walked into the light, wearing a black and gold robe, his face cold and emotionless. His nickname was known all over the martial arts world, the Unbeatable Pharaoh. People whispered his name like a warning. He had never lost a fight, not once. Many fighters had tried to defeat him, and many had failed. Some lasted only seconds in the ring. Others walked out injured and broken. His power, his size, and his ruthless confidence made him look almost invincible. The crowd erupted into cheers as Pharaoh raised his arms slowly, enjoying every second of attention. He believed no one could stop him. He believed tonight would be another easy victory. But then something unexpected happened. The announcer cleared his throat and spoke again. And now, introducing the challenger. The arena lights shifted to the opposite side. A calm figure walked out slowly, wearing a simple black outfit. No flashy entrance, no loud music, no fear on his face. Just calm steps, just quiet confidence. It was Bruce Lee. The crowd suddenly fell silent. Some people stood up in disbelief. Others whispered his name in shock. Bruce Lee walked toward the arena with peaceful eyes and steady breathing, as if he wasn't walking into a fight, but into a moment of destiny. Sometimes the quietest man in the room carries the most dangerous power. The entire arena remained unusually quiet as Bruce Lee stepped closer to the golden platform. On the opposite side stood the Unbeatable Pharaoh, tall and unmoving, like a statue carved from stone. His cold eyes followed Bruce Lee's every step, carefully studying him from head to toe. To Pharaoh, this calm and lightweight challenger looked nothing like the dangerous fighters he had defeated before, and that made him smile. A slow, arrogant smile spread across Pharaoh's face as he folded his arms and shook his head slightly, almost as if he was disappointed. The announcer's voice echoed through the arena again, introducing Pharaoh's record, dozens of victories, undefeated matches, and fighters from different countries who had tried and failed to defeat him. Giant screens around the stadium showed clips of his previous fights, powerful strikes, aggressive attacks, and opponents falling to the ground within seconds. The crowd reacted with loud cheers. Many people believed the outcome was already decided. Pharaoh was simply too strong, too big, and too experienced. Meanwhile, Bruce Lee stood quietly in his corner, stretching his arms and adjusting his stance. His breathing was slow and steady, his face calm, his eyes focused. There was no fear, no anger, no tension, just quiet concentration. It was as if the noise of 41,000 people didn't even exist for him. Pharaoh stepped forward slightly and looked directly at Bruce Lee, then laughed under his breath. To him, this was going to be easy. He rolled his shoulders, cracked his knuckles, and walked in a slow circle, showing his dominance to the crowd. Some fans started chanting his name loudly, encouraging him and building his confidence even more. But Bruce Lee didn't react. He didn't respond to the laughter. He didn't respond to the crowd. He simply stood there calm and still. Sometimes, the strongest people don't need to prove anything with words. They let their actions speak at the right moment. Pharaoh stopped walking and came closer, now only a few steps away from Bruce Lee. He leaned slightly forward, trying to intimidate him with his size and presence. For a few seconds, the two fighters stared at each other in complete silence. The tension in the arena became almost unbearable. Even the audience felt it. It wasn't just a fight anymore. It felt like a battle between power and discipline, confidence and control, noise and silence. Many people in the crowd started whispering, could Bruce Lee really handle this giant? Could speed defeat raw strength? Or was Pharaoh truly unbeatable? Now tell me honestly, which country and city are you watching this video from? And more importantly, do you believe confidence alone can win a fight, or skill and discipline matter more? Because at that moment, Pharaoh made a small but dangerous mistake. He underestimated the calm man standing in front of him. And sometimes, underestimating your opponent is the first step toward defeat. The referee slowly walked into the center, preparing both fighters for the next stage. The arena lights grew brighter. The crowd leaned forward, and everyone could feel it. Something unbelievable was about to happen. The bell rang, a sharp, crisp sound that echoed through the massive arena, cutting through the hum of 41,000 voices. The unbeatable Pharaoh took the first step, moving confidently toward Bruce Lee. Every eye in the stadium was glued to the two fighters, hearts pounding. Pharaoh's aura was intimidating. Massive muscles, towering height, and a reputation so fearsome it made lesser fighters tremble. He circled Bruce slowly, almost like a predator assessing its prey. His presence alone was enough to make the crowd hold its collective breath. Some fans whispered nervously to each other, questioning whether anyone could possibly challenge him. But Bruce Lee remained calm. His breathing was steady, his eyes focused, and his body relaxed. He didn't flinch, he didn't shift nervously, he just observed. Pharaoh, growing impatient, lunged forward, testing Bruce's reaction. Bruce moved fluidly, just enough to evade the attempt. A hush fell over the audience. No one had ever seen someone move like this against Pharaoh. It was as if time slowed down whenever Bruce reacted. The crowd was trapped in a strange mix of fear and awe. Every movement of Bruce Lee was precise, deliberate, and hypnotic. They didn't just see a fighter, they felt the power of a mind fully in control of itself. Pharaoh tried again, this time throwing a more aggressive strike. His strength was undeniable. But Bruce's stance was perfect, his response faster than anyone could track. The strike missed by inches, and Pharaoh stumbled slightly. Even the biggest fans gasped. In that moment, something shifted. The audience began to whisper. Could it be possible that this calm, small-framed man was about to challenge the unbeatable? Could Pharaoh really be beaten tonight? Bruce Lee stayed calm. He didn't taunt. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. His presence alone changed the energy in the arena. And the more Pharaoh tried to intimidate him, the more visible his frustration became. The tension was electric. Every spectator leaned forward. Every phone camera pointed at the ring. Nobody wanted to blink. And in the stands, you could almost hear the unspoken question forming in everyone's minds. If you were in Bruce Lee's position, faced with an opponent no one had ever defeated, would you freeze in fear or stay calm and trust your skill? Some fans yelled encouragement. Some silently prayed. But all were caught in the same mental trap, mesmerized by the silent confidence of Bruce Lee. The bell continued to ring in the back of their minds, signaling that the real fight hadn't even started yet. What they were witnessing wasn't just physical, it was mental. Every step, every breath, every tiny movement of Bruce Lee was a lesson in discipline, control, and strategy. Pharaoh tried one last intimidating move in this opening round, swinging with everything he had. The crowd's gasps echoed like thunder. Bruce Lee, still calm, dodged with a flick of his wrist, barely moving, as if the Pharaoh's might was irrelevant. In that moment, the audience realized something profound. Sometimes the strongest weapon is not your fists, it's your mind. Audience engagement. What would you do if you were Bruce Lee? Would you stand your ground or retreat? Comment below with your thoughts. And tell me, what city and country are you watching this epic showdown from? The tension in the arena had reached its peak. The fight had only just begun, but already 41,000 people were mentally and emotionally trapped, unable to look away. Something unbelievable was about to happen next. The bell rang again, signaling the real beginning of the fight. Every eye in the arena was glued to the ring. The air felt electric, buzzing with tension, anticipation, and the faint scent of fear. The unbeatable Pharaoh moved first. He lunged forward with incredible speed for a man his size. His fists were like hammers, each strike meant to overpower and intimidate. The crowd collectively gasped at the raw power on display. But Bruce Lee did not panic. He shifted his weight lightly, almost dancing on his toes, his body flowing like water, moving faster than anyone could track. Pharaoh's strikes hit nothing but air. Every swing, every feint, every movement was perfectly calculated. The arena seemed to freeze for brief moments. People could barely follow Bruce's speed. They could see Pharaoh's frustration growing with every missed attempt. Bruce didn't shout. He didn't taunt. He didn't overcommit. He simply read Pharaoh's movements like an open book. One by one, the audience began to realize this wasn't just a battle of strength. It was a battle of intelligence, focus, and discipline. Pharaoh tried to push Bruce back with a series of powerful kicks. The crowd leaned forward as Bruce countered, evading and redirecting his opponent's energy. Each move looked effortless, almost like he was in complete control of the fight before it even began. Even the commentators struggled to keep up, stammering as they described what they were seeing. He's too fast. It's unreal. How is he even moving like this? And the crowd, 41,000 strong, was going crazy. People were standing, phones raised, capturing what might be the most unbelievable moment in martial arts history. Whispers began to spread across the stands. Is Pharaoh really unbeatable? Look at him. Look at Bruce Lee move. He's faster than the eye can follow. Pharaoh's face tightened with frustration. For the first time in his career, someone was matching his attacks. No, surpassing them. And yet, Bruce Lee stayed calm. Every dodge, every counter, every slight movement seemed to hum with invisible power. The mental trap was set. The crowd was not just watching a fight. They were mentally trapped in awe, unable to stop thinking about the impossible speed, precision, and control Bruce Lee was demonstrating. And in that moment, something changed in Pharaoh. The confidence that had carried him undefeated for years began to crumble. Doubt crept into his eyes. The very aura of invincibility he had built around himself was slowly unraveling. Audience engagement. If you were in the crowd, witnessing an unbeatable fighter being outclassed, how would you react? Would you cheer for the underdog or fear the giant? Comment below and tell me, what city and country are you watching this fight from? Bruce Lee wasn't just fighting Pharaoh physically. He was breaking the myth of invincibility, one precise movement at a time. Every observer, every fan, and even the Pharaoh himself could feel it. Tonight, strength alone would not decide the outcome. Something extraordinary was about to happen next. The arena, already in shock, was about to witness a move that no one would ever forget. The arena had gone completely silent, except for the occasional roar of Pharaoh as he tried to regain control. Every step he took was meant to dominate. Every swing meant to intimidate. But Bruce Lee moved with a calm confidence that seemed almost unreal. He wasn't just reacting. He was predicting, reading Pharaoh's body like a book, anticipating every strike before it even happened. Pharaoh's eyes flickered with frustration. He had faced hundreds of challengers before, but none had ever resisted him this way. None had moved like Bruce Lee. Every attack he threw, powerful, aggressive, and relentless, was met with precision timing. Bruce's counters weren't loud or violent. They were clean, calculated, and devastatingly efficient. The crowd could hardly believe what they were witnessing. 41,000 people were frozen in place, some standing, some leaning forward, their jaws dropped. They weren't just watching a fight. They were watching a masterclass in control, strategy, and mental dominance. Every step Bruce took forced Pharaoh to hesitate. Every dodge made him overcommit. Every subtle shift in stance unnerved him. Bruce Lee's calmness was becoming his greatest weapon. Pharaoh's energy, raw and uncontrolled, began working against him. The giant strikes that once sent opponents flying now met air, or worse, Bruce's precise counters that disrupted Pharaoh's rhythm. The audience could feel it. The unbeatable giant was starting to crack. Human explanation. Sometimes, strength alone isn't enough. True mastery comes from control, intelligence, and timing. Bruce Lee didn't need to shout or show off. His presence, focus, and calculated movements were enough to mentally dominate his opponent. The fight had transformed from a physical battle into a psychological war. Every missed strike chipped away at Pharaoh's confidence. Every successful dodge by Bruce Lee fueled the crowd's growing belief that something impossible was happening. Murmurs spread throughout the stadium. Can Pharaoh really be defeated? Look at how calm Bruce Lee is. He's controlling the fight without even hitting hard. Pharaoh's breathing became heavier, his movements less fluid. Bruce, on the other hand, remained in perfect harmony with himself. He wasn't just avoiding attacks. He was guiding Pharaoh into mistakes, manipulating the flow of the battle with unmatched skill. The giant fighter, who had intimidated entire nations, now struggled just to land a clean hit. The crowd was emotionally hooked. They weren't cheering blindly. They were trapped in a mix of fear, awe, and anticipation. Every eye followed Bruce Lee's subtle movements. Every fan felt the suspense in their chest. The audience was mentally immersed in the battle, trying to predict the next move, but Bruce Lee was always one step ahead. And then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Bruce shifted his stance slightly, a tiny adjustment almost invisible to the untrained eye. Pharaoh lunged again with full force, overconfident, thinking he could overpower the calm man in front of him. But Bruce had already anticipated it. With a precise, controlled motion, he used Pharaoh's momentum against him, dodging and redirecting him without throwing a single wild punch. The crowd gasped in unison. Some screamed. Phones and cameras captured the moment from every angle. 41,000 people couldn't believe what they were witnessing. The unbeatable Pharaoh was no longer in control. Audience engagement. If you were in the arena right now, what would your reaction be? Cheer for Bruce Lee or fear for Pharaoh? Comment below and tell me, what city and country are you watching this incredible showdown from? Bruce Lee's strategy was clear. Patience, control, and timing could overcome raw strength and aggression. The audience understood it instantly. They were trapped mentally and emotionally, fully engaged, unable to look away. Pharaoh had been challenged, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And at this moment, the first cracks were beginning to show. Something legendary was about to happen next. The arena, already shocked, was about to witness a move that would leave 41,000 people speechless. The arena erupted into chaos as Pharaoh attempted one final aggressive move, swinging with all the power and arrogance he had built over years of being undefeated. His fists cut through the air like hammers, his muscles tense and ready to crush anyone in his path. Every eye in the stadium was fixed on him, but Bruce Lee didn't flinch, not an inch. He moved with lightning speed, his body fluid and precise, almost like water taking the shape of its container. Pharaoh's strike missed by mere centimeters, and in that instant, the energy in the arena shifted. 41,000 people could feel it. The unstoppable force was no longer unstoppable. A hush fell over the crowd, broken only by whispers of disbelief. Is this even real? He can't be faster than that. The Pharaoh. He's losing control. Bruce Lee's eyes never left Pharaoh. Calm, focused, and unshakable. He anticipated every move, predicting not just the strikes but the mindset behind them. He didn't need to shout or act aggressively. The arena watched in awe as he turned Pharaoh's own strength against him, guiding the mighty fighter into a series of small, subtle mistakes. And then it happened. Pharaoh lunged once more, fully committed, confident that his raw power would finally overwhelm the calm challenger. But Bruce Lee had been waiting for this exact moment. With a precise flick, a slight shift of weight, and perfect timing, he sidestepped and redirected Pharaoh's momentum. The giant stumbled forward, unbalanced, unable to recover. The crowd gasped. 41,000 people stood up, frozen, cheering, screaming, and capturing the impossible on their phones. They had come to see a legendary fighter meet a legend, but no one had expected this. The Pharaoh, the unbeatable, was faltering before their eyes. Human explanation. It wasn't brute strength that won the moment. It was focus, timing, and mastery of one's mind and body. Bruce Lee didn't need to overpower the Pharaoh. He simply needed to remain disciplined, calm, and aware. That was more powerful than any strike. The Pharaoh looked around, realizing that the audience no longer feared him. The whisper spread. He's Bruce Lee. Some fans shouted his name. Others jumped to their feet, all in disbelief. The arena exploded with emotion. Even Pharaoh's own confidence wavered. He had faced countless fighters before, but none had moved, reacted, and dominated him in the way Bruce Lee had. For the first time in his career, he was being humbled mentally and physically. Audience engagement. What would you have felt if you were in that stadium, witnessing the unbeatable being outsmarted and outclassed? Comment your reaction below, and tell me, what city and country are you watching this historic fight from? Bruce Lee didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. He stood in the center, calm and respectful, letting the moment speak for itself. The audience, emotionally trapped in awe, could see that true mastery was not about violence. It was about control, strategy, and humility. 41,000 people had just witnessed a turning point that would be remembered for years to come. Pharaoh had been unbeatable until Bruce Lee arrived. The stage was set for the final moments. The arena, the audience, and the fighters themselves were all ready for a conclusion that would be talked about around the world. The arena was alive with tension, every single person in their seat holding their breath. Pharaoh, the so-called unbeatable, stood unsteady for the first time in his career. Even his confident glare now flickered with doubt. Bruce Lee remained calm, almost serene. He hadn't attacked recklessly, nor had he needed to. His movements were fluid, precise, and calculated. And with each dodge, each perfectly timed counter, he had demonstrated a level of mastery that transcended mere strength. The audience was spellbound. 41,000 people were no longer just watching a fight. They were witnessing a legend in motion. Cameras flashed, fans screamed, and commentators struggled to put into words what they were seeing. The Pharaoh had underestimated not just Bruce's speed, but his intelligence, his discipline, and his ability to control not only the fight, but the mental state of everyone in the arena. With a final, subtle shift of his body, Bruce Lee anticipated Pharaoh's last desperate strike. The Pharaoh lunged forward with all his might, but Bruce sidestepped and lightly guided him off balance. Pharaoh stumbled and fell, not violently, not humiliatingly, but decisively enough that even he could feel the weight of defeat. For a brief moment, silence overtook the roar of the crowd. People couldn't believe their eyes. Then, like a wave, the arena erupted. Fans jumped to their feet, screaming in amazement, clapping, cheering, and chanting Bruce Lee's name. Every phone, every camera captured the historic moment. Human explanation. Strength alone does not make someone unbeatable. Discipline, focus, and respect are far more powerful. Bruce Lee had shown that mastery isn't about overpowering others. It's about controlling yourself, reading the situation, and letting your skill do the talking. Pharaoh slowly got to his feet, his pride intact, but his aura changed forever. He had been humbled, not by brute force, but by intelligence, strategy, and unwavering calm. The crowd watched, not just in amazement, but with a sense of respect for both fighters. Pharaoh may have been defeated, but Bruce Lee's humility elevated the entire event. The arena was emotionally overwhelmed. People were screaming, some were crying, others were laughing in disbelief. The commentators' voices trembled with excitement as they described the scene. Ladies and gentlemen, you are witnessing history. Bruce Lee, the master of strategy, the king of discipline, has done what no one thought possible. Fans all over the world felt the moment through their screens. Social media erupted immediately. Clips of Bruce Lee's calm dominance went viral within minutes. The phrase, the unbeatable Pharaoh, finally humbled, trended worldwide. People praised Bruce's humility, his intelligence, and his incredible mastery of martial arts. Audience engagement. If you were in that arena, what would your reaction have been? Would you cheer, be in shock, or be inspired? Comment below and tell me, what city and country are you watching this legendary fight from? Bruce Lee turned to Pharaoh and offered a subtle nod, a gesture of respect. No word were needed. The Pharaoh nodded back, understanding that this was more than just a fight. It was a lesson in discipline, humility, and control. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena, declaring Bruce Lee the winner, but it wasn't just about victory. It was about mastery. It was about proving that true power comes from within, that confidence paired with strategy can overcome brute force, and that calmness under pressure is the ultimate weapon. 41,000 people would leave the arena that night changed forever. They've been trapped emotionally, mentally, and spiritually by what they had witnessed. Bruce Lee didn't just want to fight. He taught a lesson that transcended martial arts. As the crowd erupted one final time, the message was clear. True greatness is silent, humble, and controlled. Strength is nothing without discipline. Victory is sweetest when earned with respect. Final call to action. If you believe respect, discipline, and calmness are the real keys to power, type respect in the comments and subscribe for more stories that inspire and amaze. The lights dimmed on the arena, but the legend of Bruce Lee and the unforgettable night against the unbeatable Pharaoh would echo in the hearts of millions forever.